This first part of the update was filmed on April 17th, 2021. Let's start the update with the grape. These buds over here have completely opened and the leaves have gotten a lot bigger. And towards the base of the plant, you can see some more buds gonna open soon. As for the stem that I broke, towards the tip, the buds are drying up, as you can see right here. As for the other end, the buds are actually looking quite healthy. Here we have the asparagus. The sprout has gotten a lot taller. I'm not going to harvest this one. And also here's a new sprout. Not going to harvest this too. And here's another one. This is the fourth sprout. Here's the saffron. And here's a cute little ladybug. The other saffron is also turning quite yellow. The rhubarb, I cut off the flower stalk from last week, so they're looking like this now. But it seems like one of the plants is also sending out a new flower stalk right here. The mulberry growth is speeding up by a lot. You can see the buds have turned green and there's a lot of them. And if you look closer, you can see the structure of the leaves very nicely. As for the green onion, the flowers are gonna open really soon. As you can see, the membrane has broken open. This rosemary doesn't look as healthy as the other one. The raspberry growth is also speeding up. The bud that opened first is looking quite impressive now. And going down, you can see the other buds are also looking great. And on this other cane, the buds have finally opened. There's a lot more leaves on the blueberry bush now. And the flower buds have all opened, pretty much. Going to show you a few more flowers. I haven't observed any bumblebees around. I finally decided to dig up the ginger to see what they're doing, and this one, it seems like it's not doing well at all. It's squishy to the touch, probably rotten on the inside. And here's another one that is pretty much gone. The rosemary is looking very magnificent. Look at all these new growth. And the flowers, and just the size of the bush is beautiful. The lavender has started to catch up with all these new growth. The aphid infestation is so severe, you can see some of them crawling on the side of the pot. It might be a good time to purchase some ladybugs. Also, if you look closely at some of the new growth, you can see a lot of aphids, kind of gross. I put together a shelf from IKEA just to better organize the plants. Here's the summer snowflake. The flowers have started to fade and they're also forming seed pods. Here's another pot of summer snowflakes. Doing the same thing, the flowers have started to fade. This is the most flower I've gotten from these two plants. The Persian pearl tulip, as you can see, the flowers have faded and the leaves have started to turn yellow, so it's definitely dying back now. Here's the pot with the snowdrop, sort of getting taken over by the weeds. Here's the glory of the snow, looks the same. Crocus. Here's the third pot of summer snowflake. If you look closer, you actually can see a sprout forming. Super tiny. Peony is still getting bigger. All the leaves are open now. Hopefully we'll see some new growth from the base. The grape hyacinth is still flowering. You can see some older flowers are sort of fading. The daffodil looks about the same. And here we have the calla lily. A a lot of dead sprouts, but within them you can see some sprouts like this one that's sort of turning green. Might recover. I'm not too sure though. The dahlia is recovering now. You can see the sprouts forming on the side of the dead sprouts. The hyacinth flowers have faded. It's time to move this upstairs. Here's the striped squill. Here are some older flowers that are fading. And here's more flowers actually. These flowers look a bit newer. And here are some brand new flowers that just formed. You can see some opened buds. So yeah, it's still flowering. The grape hyacinth latifolium flowers have started to fade. I like the leaves though. The shape is quite nice. This part of the update was filmed on the 18th. Here are the serviceberry flowers. Looks like they're fading now. Hopefully we'll get some berries, I'm not sure. Here are the winter jewels. The stamens of the flowers are gone now, so it has started to fade. The hydrangea is looking great. Here you can see the flowers forming. And here's a lot more flowers. Basically, there's flowers all over the plant. It's gonna look so beautiful and colorful when they all open. This is the shooting star variety of hydrangea. This older bud that formed during the winter, I don't think it's gonna be as beautiful. Right here is a aphid infested flower bud, I think. The lily of the valleys are getting a lot taller, and a lot of the sprouts also contain flower buds. Here's a beautiful example. Also aphids. Some more lily of the valley sprouts. For the indoor, here we have the philodendron. A lot of new growths have formed since I repotted the plant. Here are two new vines that are getting a lot longer. Here's another vine that is forming. And also some new growth on the original vines. Here are the mini oncidiums. There's a lot of new growth from the plants. Here is a big new growth. And the other plant also has this big new growth over here. The dendrobium is also actively sending out a lot of new growth. This plant has two new growth. One right here. And the second one is over here. There's also very active root growth. The other plant has this new growth with the coloration. You can see it's sort of purplish. The odontocidium is sending out a lot of new roots right here. Here's some healthy root growth. The smaller odontocidium also had a lot of root growth. This one is a lot denser. Also some new growth on the top. The mini lady slipper orchid is actually sending out some new growth. Not too sure if this tiny green tip, if it's a root or a shoot. The phalaenopsis growth is actually taking off quite well. This new leaf over here is getting quite big. And also this tiny tip thing, I think it's a flower stalk. It's getting bigger, I think. And also on this side, you can see this green tip over here, this little dot. That is going to be a root growth. The maidenhair ferns are doing well too. This little one is still sending out a lot of fronds. And this big one is also sending out a lot of new fronds. Some of them are a bit darker colored, like this one. You can see it's a bit brown and red, probably due to sun exposure. Here's the Hoya. Let's take a look at all the new growths. Here you can see this new vine forming. And here are just some new leaves that formed a while ago. Here's actually a new vine forming. It's getting quite long actually. Here's a pair of new leaves. This new growth at the base of the plant is a lot slower growing. The money tree plant is not looking too good. The leaves are all wrinkled and this stem over here has broken off. Looks like it has rotted pretty badly. Even though you can see some newer, healthier leaves forming, it's probably a good idea to replant these guys. This finger succulent is also doing similar things. There's new, healthier leaves forming, but the older leaves are all pretty wrinkly, so I'm probably going to repot this one too. The zebra succulent is doing some weird things. These new growths are turning reddish, and also the older leaves are also sort of turning red on these older plants, even though some new leaves are forming. Not too sure what to make of it. And the pitcher plant that I bought yesterday is looking still healthy. I mean, it's only been one day. I really like this pitcher over here. The color is very nice and it's gonna open pretty soon. This new leaf over here is looking very nice. Just a few different angles of the plants. Here's another new plant, the Venus flytrap. Decided to put it in this enclosure to keep the humidity high. Some close-up of the plants. You can see that new leaf forming. I decided to place these plants in a humidified container to speed up the recovery. The wandering Jew is recovering quite well. If you look closely, you can see two root growths. And the spider plant doesn't really have to be in here, but yeah, the roots are growing nicely. And the arrowhead plant is still recovering slowly, not seeing any major root growth.